Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahabashai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, because those are the men who I learned this truth from through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Yahweh is the true name of the God of Israel. Yahabashai is what the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one and only true name is Yahabashai. And pretty much this is just going to be a quick lesson concerning being assured of what you learned, being fully persuaded, and not having the mindset at all of doubt, and just understanding what comes with serving the Lord, pursuant to Ecclesiasticus, the 2nd chapter. All right? Because, a lot of men, they get offended over the years. They lose steam over the years, and we hoping and praying that the Lord did not predestinate us to fail. All right? Because being in this truth, you're going to go through a lot of things that's going to make you, reconsider and ultimately examine yourself, whether you be in the faith. And some men, they're not strong enough to endure, because that's their lot ultimately. All right? So we hoping and praying the brothers that's actually, still in the camp, that's diligent, that are actually our brothers and the hopeful elect, we just hoping and praying that we endure to the end, because, the worst thing you could be in this lifetime is a fallout. A person that was once enlightened with the truth, and now you forsaken the Lord to go back into the world, or you're a hireling, or you sold out, you don't want that to be you. You don't want to fall into any of those categories. You don't want to be Judas Iscariot, pretty much. All right? So you want to hope that the things you are doing through faith, through the blood and sacrifice of Yahushua, that it's going to make you wise unto salvation. No matter what trials or tribulations you go through as a believer, you must endure. All right? Constantly pray to Yahweh Yahushua and remain consistent while you're in this truth. All right? So without further ado, we're going to get into it. So first, I'm going to kick it off with Romans 14. I'm going to actually start at 22, and then I'm going to go back to verse 5. So I'm going to start off with Romans chapter 14 and verse 22. I had to put the Strongs on. It says, "Hast thou faith?" Now, the Greek word for faith, it should be pistis, right? Pistis in the Greek. And this is what it means in the Greek: conviction of the truth of anything. Belief in the New Testament of a conviction or belief, aka your religion, right? Your religious belief. Respecting man's relationship to the Most High and divine things, generally with the included idea of trust. So do you trust in the Most High? Even after all the trials and tribulations you're going to go through, things you overcame that became a testimony of how Yahweh through Yahushua didn't allow you to fall, going back to predestination ultimately, right? After everything you've been through, you suffering wrongfully, after all your L's, examining yourself, do you trust in the Most High? And a lot of men, they don't trust in the Most High. It says, "And holy favorer, born of faith and joined with it." So ultimately, the ones that have the gift of faith through Yahabashah's blood and sacrifice is who? The elect of the nation of Israel. Going back to what? Jeremiah, the 1st chapter. The Lord predestinate, meaning he sanctifies the prophets and the elect in the womb to be born with this truth. And at a certain given time, the Most High will allow the elect to come into the truth and come across the truth, whether it be YouTube, a street ministry, maybe a co-worker that's secretly in the camp. One way or another, the Most High will reveal the truth and have his elect in the truth. And no matter what the elect have to go through, like it says in Romans, the 8th chapter, like about the 30th verse on down to like 35-ish, right? No matter what we got to go through, we'll be able to endure. Why? Because it goes back to the will of the Most High, predestination, all right? So it goes on to say, relating to the Most High. So you have a lot of men, they go through trials and tribulations, and instead of them praying to Yahweh and Yahushua that they don't be destroyed, that they have the spirit and strength spiritually and mentally to endure the trials and tribulations that they're going through, these particular men that fall into these categories, they become emotional instead of becoming more spiritual. All right? You know why? Because they lack faith. They don't trust in the Most High. Faith goes back to trust. All right. Do you trust in your guide, which is Yahweh and Yahushua? It says the conviction that the Most High exists. Right. That's literally what his name means. He exists, Yahweh, right? And is the creator and ruler of all things. Yes, even the trials and tribulations you're put in. You know, things you had to suffer on the side. You know, your losses. Everything that's ever happened to you is predestinated. It go back to predestination, what the Most High foreordained for you as a spirit created through Yahushua, through his will, right? It says, and is the creator and ruler of all things. So just like how you catch trials and tribulations, you know, you catch hell, being on the planet Earth, being under the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28, right? Do you also believe that the Most High is going to bless you after everything you've been through, all right? And even the things that you lost, do you trust in Yahweh and Yahushua that they will replace those things, whether it be financially, whether it be a woman, anything, you know, the loss of a child, anything you could think of, because that's how the Most High works. He's a perfect God. He deals with balance, right? Because that's what happens. It says, yep, the provider and bestower of eternal salvation through Hamashiach. That's how the Most High set up things for the elect to have faith and trust in Yahushua, which will what? Make them wise unto salvation. But it starts first with receiving the correct gospel and doctrine from the men of great millstone, all right, our prophets or the prophets of the Lord, no matter where we've been scattered at. So it says, relating to a Mashiach, a strong and welcome conviction or belief that Yahushua is the Messiah, through whom we, the elect of the nation of Israel, obtain eternal salvation in the kingdom of the Most High. That first starts with you receiving this gospel and doctrine and enduring in it, all right? It says the religious beliefs of Christians, which we know the original Christians, pursuant to Acts the 6th chapter and Acts the 11th chapter, were Jews that followed the Messiah, all right? When you read in the scriptures, the term Christian, it don't apply to every nation in a general sense. It only applies to the elect of the nation of Israel, Jews that follow the Messiah, or Israelites that follow the Messiah, all right? So it goes on to say, yep, belief with the predominant idea of trust or confidence. Do you have trust and confidence in Yahweh and Yahushua? You know, you may be saying that, honoring the Lord with lip service, but what about when you're not at the camp? What about when you're on your job? What about when you out and about in the streets? What about when your woman turned against you, you know? What about when you really start catching hell on the planet Earth? Do you still have trust and confidence in Yahweh and Yahushua? Or are you going to become offended and then blame other men for you not being strong enough to endure these things? Because that's also what happens. You know, they'll be like, oh man, I was a part of a racist code. These guys ruined my life. You know, they'll point the finger at everybody else instead of examining themselves, whether they be in the faith. A lot of these men, they don't be praying. You know, they don't establish their relationship as an individual between them and Yahweh and Yahushua. Instead, they start getting more carnally minded, and they become less and less spiritual, to the point where they become a scoffer. Because you got to understand for yourself the reality of being in this truth, all right? You thinking that you just gonna just leave the truth or leave the camp and stop completely teaching, and you think that's it? No, the Most High gonna physically end up killing you, all right? See, here at Great Millstone, we make that very clear, and we use the scriptures to back it up. But with the other camps, you know, they don't do that. They just trying to get as many members as they want. It says, whether in the Most High or in Hamashiach, springing from faith and the same fidelity, faithfulness, the character of one who could be relied on, all right? And who could be relied on? Yahweh and Yahushua. You know, we all got our testimonies. We all been through life or death situations. We've been in situations where it seemed like it was no way out. But like it says in the scriptures, right? I believe it's either 1st or 2nd Corinthians 10 and 13. You know, the Most High, the same way he put you in a trial or tribulation, he makes a way for you to escape, all right? So when you overcome these things, it's supposed to boost your faith up. You know, you're supposed to pray nonstop. As it says in 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter, pray without ceasing. Yeah, when you praying less, you know, you're not doing your videos during the week, your morale is low in the spirit, right? So that's what it means to have faith. It says, I'm gonna read it again. This is Romans 14 and 22. It says, has thou faith, have it to thyself as an individual, all right? You got to understand for yourself that you're going to be rewarded, you know, not to doubt the Lord, you know, to be diligent and consistent during the week. It says, have it to thyself before the Most High. Prove your, well, it's going to say it, right? But you have to prove yourself as an individual to Yahweh and Yahushua. If you're not doing that, then you waste your time. Why are you in the camp for? To prove your faith to men? Men can't deliver you. It don't matter how much man-pleasing, how much money you give an individual, you know, how much double honors you give somebody. If you don't believe for yourself, why are you in the camp? It says, happy is he that condemneth not himself in the thing which he alloweth. And you know, when you read up, this chapter is going into like meats and stuff like that, right? But just hitting the point of the precept, you gotta have faith. Everything you do, it has to be a faith. Because if it's not a faith, then it's sin, as the scriptures say. So now let's read this. This is Romans 14 and verse 5. It said, one man esteemeth one day above another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man, right, every Israelite man, be fully persuaded in his own mind, right? As an individual. When you go into this word persuaded, right? Let's see what it says in the Greek. Persuaded. I'm gonna let the word play, and then we're gonna go into the definition.
Strong's G 4135. Pleiraphoreo. Pleiraphoreo.
Let's go down here. It says to bear or bring full, to make full, to fulfill a ministry in every part, to carry through to the end, accomplish. So if you fully persuaded, then you will carry on to the end and accomplish the task, which is to what? Spread this gospel unto death, so that the end could come. When you read Matthew 24, it says what? That this gospel shall be preached into the ends of the earth, and then the end shall come. All right? So how is the end going to come if you're not being consistent, playing your part? Or maybe you're just not a part of the elect. Because the elect, they will be diligent unto death. The elect wouldn't get offended. They will understand why everything that they had to experience, even though it may be bitter, it may seem unfair, we would understand that, oh, well, these things that I'm going through, Yahushua had to go through it all at once, right? And we would also understand what? That we're going to be rewarded one day for our hard work and labor of love. But if we quit, we can't be rewarded. Like it says in Revelation 22, you know, the Yahushua, he's going to reward every man according to his works. So, you know, we got to endure to the end. It don't matter what we got to go through on the side. And you got to have a mindset like that. You don't know what's going to happen a second from now, a minute from now, a month from now, a year from now. Things change over time. As things are changing, are you still going to glorify Yahweh and Yahushua on the same level that you came in, or be on an even higher level than what you came in? See, men don't think about that. You know, you in the camp 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you know, a couple months, weeks is going past. You know, you feeling comfortable, but what about when Yahweh and Yahushua, you know, Yahweh, he throws a curveball at you. You know, now you're going through something real bitter. You can't quit. You're supposed to pray and endure that, right? It goes on to say, yep. Things that have been accomplished to fill one with any thought of conviction or inclination, to make one certain. Are you certain that this is the truth? Are you certain that you're going to be rewarded? Do you really believe in Yahweh and Yahushua? Do you understand the reality of being in the truth? Do you understand the reality of being called into the truth but not chosen, going back into the world? Do you understand the judgment of the Lord, right? It says to make one certain, to persuade, convince one, right? And this is what we do. When we are on the highways and byways, when we on the streets having our street ministry as Great Millstone, right? We're trying to persuade and convince other Israelites to repent, because all hell is getting ready to break loose, right? So it says to be persuaded persuaded, fully convinced, or assured. So you have to be convinced and assured that this is the truth. It says to render, incline, or bent on. So we're bent on that this is the truth, and we're going to be rewarded for it. So we don't have no plan B. Plan A is Yahawashi, that's it. So it says in his own mind. So you have to be fully assured and convinced that this truth that you're learning from the apostles of Great Millstone, you have to be assured that these are the men of the Lord that Yahawashi set up. All right? So now, let's go from here to 2 Corinthians 13 and 5. Let me turn the Strongs on. This is 2 Corinthians 13 and 5. It says, examine yourselves, whether ye be in the faith. Let's go into this word examine. So this is the Greek word for examine.
Strong's G 3985. Pairazo.
Parazo. It says, yep. Let's go down here. Examine, right? To try, make trial of tests for the purpose of ascertaining his quality or what he thinks or how he will behave himself, right? Let's go down here. In a bad sense, to test one maliciously, craftily, to put to the proof his feelings or judgments. So after everything you've been through, all the trials or tribulations or things you could currently be going through right now, do you still believe that this is the truth? Is this what you think you signed up for? Because everything is predestined, pursuant to Ephesians, the 1st chapter, right? Everything is predestination. Your life is meant to happen the way how the Most High preordained it before you was even created, right? Do you believe that this is the truth? After everything you experience, all the bitter, all the bad, the good, the bad, the ugly, do you think that this is the truth still, right? It says, yep, to try or test one's faith, virtue, character by enticement to sin. And this is what the Most High do. The Most High will put you in, particular uncomfortable situations where you have to display your faith. There's really no way better to explain it. Either you're going to have faith and pray to Yahawashi, and through Yahawashi get out of that trial, tribulation, or situation, or that's going to be the thing that takes you out the truth. And for me, whenever I go through something real drastic, I try to pray. I try to be honest, with brothers. If it's something that could be talked about, you don't got to explain everything to everybody, right? But you are going to be in situations where you need the help of the brotherhood almost all the time, but there's things that you're going to have to go through where the brotherhood ain't going to be around. And ultimately, you have to be the one to have the faith and be able to endure that, all right? Because we're not always all around each other. So there's certain things you're going to go through to where you're going to have to overcome that through your own faith as an individual, all right? But you're always going to need the help of the brotherhood, though, It goes on to say, because the main things we deal with, besides like the plague of the mind, is financial problems, problems with women, all type of stuff, even health. And you have brothers that specialize in all these different fields, of life that could be extremely beneficial for you, right? But continuing on, I kind of went off topic a little bit. It says to solicitate, to sin, to tempt. Let's go down here. Old Testament usage of the Most High to inflict evils upon one in order to prove his character. So these trials and tribulations you're going through, who you think put you through it? It's the same one that can take you out of it. But a lot of men, they forget that. They become emotional, all right? You don't want to become emotional. You don't want to become prideful, because then you've forgotten your maker. It goes on to say, to inflict evils upon one in order to prove his character and the steadfastness of his faith. Exactly. It says men are said to tempt the Most High by exhibitions of distrust, as though they wish to try whether he is not justly distrusted, right? By impious or wicked conduct, to test the Most High justice and patience, to challenge him, as it were, give proof of his perfections. All right? All right, so 2 Corinthians 13 and 5, it goes on to say, examine yourselves whether you be in the faith. Do you truly believe that this is the truth? Do you really think that the apostles of Great Millstone are men of the Lord, right? The men around you, do you think that they men of the Lord? It says, prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves. See, this is individuality right here, all right? This truth is not about being a lone wolf, but you have to believe for yourself, period. All right, there's no other way to put it. People can't hold your hand as a grown man being in this truth. Either you believe or you don't. It's either yes or no, all right? It says, know ye not your own selves, how that Yahushua Mashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates. All right, and what's a reprobate? An Israelite individual, or just an individual void of judgment. These dudes that lead the truth, they think they're going to sunset into the world. No, the Most High is going to destroy you. All right. It says, but I trust that ye shall know that we, right, are now reprobates. Now, why is it written like that? Because ultimately, this is a letter written to the Israelites that was in Corinth, Greece, by Apostle Paul. All right. So Apostle Paul is pretty much saying, look, like, you see the fruits of the Spirit. You see how this gospel and correct doctrine has flourished, right? You see that, he's locked up in jail and prison, for teaching the word. So you know that he's not a reprobate, because look at everything that came with that. It's obvious that he's a man of the Lord, right? Now I pray to you. Now I pray to the Most High. It says that ye do no evil, not that we shall appear approved, right? Because ultimately we're sinners called back to repentance through the blood and sacrifice of Yahushua, right? We're not being saved by the law or our own righteousness in the flesh. We're being saved because of Yahushua, going back to predestination, right? It says, but that ye should do that which is honest, though we be as reprobates. So even though we're sinners called back to repentance, you do what's honest, which is to spread this truth and correct doctrine, all right? That's what pleases the Most High, spiritual sacrifices, not some keeping of the law. We rehearse the righteous acts of the law through faith, but keeping the law is not what's going to save us. What's going to save us is Yahushua physically and through his blood and sacrifice, all right? This is 2 Timothy 3 and 14, right? 2 Timothy 3 and 14, it says, but continue thou in the things which thou hast learned. So in our case, right, being the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, you have to continue on in what the apostles of Great Millstone and Great Millstone teaches, right? It says, and has been assured of. Are you assured of this being the truth? Let's go into that, right? Assured of, right? Pistol, it says to make faithful, render trustworthy. Do you think that this gospel and doctrine that the men of Great Millstone is teaching is trustworthy, right? To make firm, establish, to be firmly persuaded of. So are you firmly persuaded that you're being taught the right thing? After all the trials and tribulations, the demonization, the false accusations that's put on us, and probably you too, right? Because you believe in what we believe in. You may not even be an official member of Great Millstone, but the fact that you believe what we believe in, the world is going to come up against you. Are you firmly persuaded of everything that comes with this truth, the good, the bad, the ugly, the persecution? It says to be assured of. So you have to be assured of for yourself as an individual that this is the truth, all right? Teaching this truth, it comes with consequences. Ultimately, we're proving our faith to Yahweh and Yahushua. This is what we are alive to do. Back to 2 Timothy 3 and 14. 2 Timothy 3 and 14, but continue thou. Now, this was Apostle Paul talking to Timothy, telling him what? The examples and everything I taught you, continue in that. Don't worry about these false doctrines. Be aware of false prophets, right? But continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and has been assured of. Are you assured that this doctrine that you're receiving through Yahushua, that this is the truth? Are you studying? Are you reading these chapters for yourself? Or are you just a parrot, right? It says, knowing of whom thou hast learned them. Yeah, we learned it from the prophets of the Lord. Do you really believe that the apostles of Great Millstone are them ancient prophets that you read about? All right. It says, and that from a child, when you read St. John, the 3rd chapter, what did Yahushua tell Nicodemus? That you got to learn all over again. That was the point. Not physically entering into your mother's womb and, being a child and stuff like that. No, it's talking about a child learns from their parents. Now, who's our spiritual parents on earth? The men that teach you this truth. And what the scriptures call masters. That's why the scriptures say what? Servants, meaning the disciples, obey your masters. Because a disciple is what? A student that has to learn from a guide or a teacher, right? Or teachers in our case, which would be the apostles on down, right? So it says, knowing of whom thou hast learnt them, and that from a child thou hast known the holy scriptures, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation. So it's a chain reaction. The ones that can receive and endure being in this truth and receive this gospel and doctrine, they're fully persuaded, they study everything that they learned, they actually do videos on it, right? They're not just keeping their talents in a napkin, because you got individuals, and it's so fucking annoying. You got individuals, they know like secular history, they know particular things, right, that was taught over the years, but they'll never do a video on it, you know? There's always something to do in this truth. This truth is not about flexing knowledge on other Israelites, all right? This truth is about being on cross and teaching unto death. No matter if we got to deal with persecution in the future, so what? All right? That's the mindset you should have, that even if I got to be a martyr, so what? I prove my faith to Yahweh and Yahushua. This world don't got nothing to offer me. Ain't no point in selling out. This world can't offer me immortality. The world will never be a better place if Yahushua don't come back. That's the mindset I'm in, all right? And I know that's the mindset that the apostles before me been in, and the men that's been in the truth longer, right? So knowing this truth is physically going to make you wise unto salvation through Yahushua when he comes back by the way of the so-called UFOs, all right? And what's salvation? Deliverance from ruin. How are we going to be delivered? By Yahushua. It says through faith, which is in Hamashiach Yahushua. So you got to have faith for yourself, man. This is what Yahushua told Peter. This is St. John 21:15. This is what? The love motivation. It says, so when they had dined, Yahushua saith to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He saith unto him, yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, feed my lambs. The lambs is talking about the elect of the nation of Israel, right? He saith to him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He saith unto him, yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, feed my lambs. So you notice he asked him the same question twice, right? Remember, Peter was the head disciple. It says, he saith unto him the third time. We understand 3, it represents understanding. So Yahushua, he wanted to firmly make sure that Peter understood the importance of feeding the lambs, which would be other Israelites that believe, right? So it says, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved. You know, he was annoyed. You know, you asking me the same question over and over and over again, right? It says, because he saith unto him the third time, lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Yahushua saith unto him, feed my lamb. So, you know, that's the importance. And that's where men go wrong at, you know? Whether you in or out of a camp, you got to feed the lambs. So if you don't do that, then it's a wrap. This is Matthew 16:24. It says, then said Yahushua unto his disciples, right, the 12 disciples. It says, if any man, meaning any Israelite man, will come after me, let him deny himself. Let's read that in the NLT. This is Matthew 16:24 NLT version. It says, then Yahushua said to his disciples, if any of you wants to be my follower, you must turn from your selfish ways. Take up your cross and follow me. All right? So that's the thing. You know, your selfish desires, things that's going to take up more time than serving the Lord, you got to get rid of that, or shorten the time with things you do in your leisure time, you know, in your personal time. All right? You're supposed to put this truth before anything. You're not supposed to esteem other things before glorifying Yahweh and Yahushua, meaning you're not supposed to put more time and effort into things more than Yahweh and Yahushua. All right? At least get like a spiritual sacrifice and do a video, you know, pray, meditate on prophecy, you know, do something. Link up current events with the end time prophecies, Maybe check the chat, see how brothers is doing. You know, you got to be active in the truth, you know. It says, then said Yahushua unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Let's go into this word cross, all right? It's the Greek word for cross.
Strong's G 4716, staros. Staros.
And it says a cross. It gives you the secular history of it. All right. It says, self-denial. All right. That's why I went into the NLT version. Pretty much being your cross is enduring the trials and tribulations that Yahweh and Yahushua is going to put you through. All right. You got to prove your faith nonstop. It says, and follow me. So now let's go here. I'm going to finish it off with this. This is Acts 14 and 22. It says, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith. This is what we're doing now, right? It says, and that we, the elect of the nation of Israel, through much tribulation, Jacob's trouble, all hell breaking loose, economic collapse, right? Persecution. Some of us going to have to be martyrs. There's so much things we're going to have to go through in these last days. It says, enter into the kingdom of the Most High. So before we get eternal rest in the kingdom of heaven, we got to first go through the trials and tribulations that the Most High is going to have us go through to challenge us as Israelite individuals that believe on the planet Earth. The main test is going to be the hour of temptation when they make the mark of the beast, which is the RFID chip implant mandatory. When you read Revelation, the 14th chapter, we have to deny that chip, even if we can't buy or sell. All right. All we have to do is just have faith and pray to Yahweh and Yahushua, like how we've been doing. Just like how, you know, brothers have a bunch of testimonies. It's not going to be any different in the time to come. All right. Just as the Lord delivers you right now, you going through things, all type of things, right? It's the same way how he's going to deliver us when all hell breaks loose in society and when the hour of temptation comes about. All right. So that's pretty much it. Lord willing, you was edified by the lesson. Shalom.